Let us dive back into the Kyrgyzstan travel diaries in dramatic fashion, continuing the unforgettable adventure to the breathtaking Song Kul Lake. We are in the midst of our 3-day journey on horseback here in the rugged mountains of Kyrgyzstan. Last we left off, we had just arrived at the shores of Song Kul Lake, the second largest in Kyrgyzstan and even more beautiful than I imagined. Pictures absolutely do not do this place any justice. The tranquility of the turquoise waters made for a surreal ambience. It seemed to be barely moving, and only the wild birds disturbing its stillness reminded me that this was real life and not just a picturesque painting. Our horses seemed thrilled to finally be by the water and took full advantage of a lengthy break on the lake's rocky shores. As we continued onwards to camp, hundreds of livestock joined us, with huge herds of cows roaming free and grazing in the wide open pastures of Kyrgyzstan's countryside, and occasionally coming to the water to hydrate in this otherworldly watering hole. The flatter landscapes close to the lake made for a perfect setting for our horses to gallop, and our guides egged them on to give us a taste of the raw freedom the nomadic Kyrgyz must feel. It caught me off guard at first, and the adrenaline was flowing as I experienced that utterly indescribable feeling for the first time. Unfortunately, I do not have any videos of us galloping, as both of my hands were glued to my horse's saddle the entire time, but I can promise you that it is absolutely exhilarating. We galloped the final stretch to our yurt camp, nestled just a few minutes away from the scenic shores of Song Kul. We settled into our cozy rooms inside the yurts, a lifestyle that I can definitely get used to before returning to the lake for a very frigid but much needed swim. The rest of the afternoon was spent soaking in the scenery and relaxing in the peaceful slowness of rural Kyrgyz life. No cell signal, no obligations, no distractions, just pure bliss out here in the secluded natural environments of Kyrgyzstan. Life was very simple here, one of the most peaceful places that I've ever been, although the actual act of fighting for my life to maintain balance on the horse was perhaps the furthest thing from peaceful. Riding horses, honestly, it really takes it out of you in a way that I never expected. Every part of me was either sore or chafing. After the 5 hours of riding and the cold plunge into Songkul, I napped for a good 2 or 3 hours. I barely woke up in time for sunset. Some high altitude football sessions with the local children immediately wore me out, but luckily it was followed by another cozy, hearty dinner inside the yurt. This meal was exactly what the soul and body needed. These home cooked meals have genuinely been the best I've had in all of Central Asia, which is surprising because I'm in the middle of nowhere and they are just whipping up some hot fire. And since I had no shot at falling asleep after my lengthy nap, a few fellow travelers and I hung around in the yurt to chat and play some music. This is a local instrument called the kumus, and we have no idea how to play it, but we tried our best. Upon finally exiting the yurt, we were greeted by an endless sea of stars lighting up the sky, a perfect way to close out day 2 of our equestrian escapade.
This is what we call a poo with a view.
And that brings us to day 3, the final leg of our surreal adventure to Song Kul. Waking up to the stunning morning lighting while the horses grazed by the lake was one hell of a way to start the day, let me tell you. Just pure serenity and tranquility. I got up early to wander along the shores of the lake and soak it all in. Although I was definitely a bit ready to wrap up the horseback riding, I was not quite ready to say goodbye to the lake or the Kyrgyz mountains just yet. It would have been amazing to spend an extra day here relaxing and doing absolutely nothing. But alas, it was time to go. We headed into the yurt for our final breakfast before getting back on our horses.
Last morning with my boy Bereke. The best horse ever.
It would be another 5 hours back to the village of Kyrgyz, but the journey back would prove to be every bit as exciting as the way up here, if not more. The day started off mostly flat as we were still close to the lake, passing cows and herds of sheep as we headed towards the mountain pass that we would eventually descend. From here, it was very treacherous, and you could tell even the horses were a little bit hesitant with every step. The trail was very narrow for some stretches, and I even considered getting off the horse and hiking the rest of the way. However, the guides insisted that we should trust our horses, and they did indeed safely get us down the mountain. We passed some yaks while taking a short break and then continued the rest of the way to Kyrgyz. I really enjoyed the scenery here as well, with golden fields and historic cemeteries that had such a unique architectural style for their mausoleums and tombs. We made it back to our guest house and we were treated to a hearty lunch to wrap up the trip. But before we close things out, let's go over a few of the logistics if you are interested in doing a trip like this for yourself. I did this trip in 3 days, although it is possible to do it in 2 days or even stretch it out to 4, 5, 6 days, however many days you want. If you want something cheaper and think that 3 days or more on a horse is too much commitment, I would definitely recommend doing it in just 2 days. The first day was not as scenic as the lake itself, and while beautiful, it does pale in comparison to a lot of the other natural beauty that you will find in Kyrgyzstan. If you are short on time and have limited days, it might be better to just spend 2 days and head straight to the lake on the first day instead of taking the scenic route through the valleys and mountains. For this 3-day trip, I paid 13,200 som, which is about 150 USD, and that included the horses and guides for 3 days, 2 nights at really cozy yurt accommodation, and 7 meals in total, which I thought was an excellent value for what I paid. The price does depend on how big your group is, because if I were to do this solo and was not able to find a group last minute, I think the price was closer to $200. Luckily, Song Kul is a fairly popular activity in Kyrgyzstan, and it isn't hard to meet other travelers to join forces with. If all else fails, you can always send a message to some hostels or guest houses or travel agencies and see if they know of any groups that you can join to lower the costs. I've also met people who have gone directly to Kyrgyz without anything booked and managed to join a tour last minute, but if you would like something a little more guaranteed, I would recommend arranging everything before you get to Kyrgyz because it is a tiny village and there's not much else to do there. If you have to wait around for a day or two, I think you would get quite bored very quickly. Now, what to pack? You should definitely have warm clothing because it gets very cold in the evenings no matter the time of year. Definitely bring long pants because being on the horse for several hours a day will lead to chafing and rashes if you do not have your legs fully covered and protected. Sunscreen is a must, of course. The sun is very strong up here at high altitudes. And if you plan on swimming, obviously bring a swimsuit and towel. We were fed very well on this trip, so we didn't actually need any snacks. I do recommend bringing a water filter, although we were able to get water boiled at some of the yurt camps without any issues. Aside from the yurt camps, there aren't really any places to buy snacks or drinks along the way, so bring what you think you'll need food-wise. Power banks are a good idea as there is no electricity up here. There's also a lot of downtime at camp, so maybe something to keep yourself entertained, maybe a book to read by the lake, or some cards to play games with your other group members with. All in all, I would say this trip was absolutely worth it, even as a beginner who had never really ridden horses prior to this. It did take more work than I imagined to get comfortable on the horse at first, but for the most part, you really don't have to do too much. However, you definitely have to remain focused at all times because the horses truly do whatever they want sometimes. If you turn your brain off and let go of the reins or stop paying attention for even a few seconds, you never know. The horse can randomly break into a trot, and the sudden change of pace can easily catch you off guard and throw you off balance. There were definitely times where I was a little scared and I just couldn't get the horse to listen to me no matter how hard I tried, but everything worked out in the end. Be prepared, be safe, listen to the guides, and don't be too reckless. It is humbling being on these majestic creatures, building a rapport with them, getting to trust each other, and putting your life and safety in its hooves, knowing it could genuinely crush you or kick you off at a whim. An incredible experience and unlike anything I have done on my travels before. That is all I can think about for now, but if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I will answer any and all of them. Don't forget to toss over a like as well, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you have been enjoying these travel videos so far. Thank you guys so much for watching, and rahmat or spasiba to any Kyrgyz viewers out there. I'm really loving your country so far. Stay tuned for more adventures from Kyrgyzstan and Central Asia and across the world from my life as a full-time traveler who has been to 80 countries and counting. It has been a wild ride so far, and I will see you all on the next video.